What is up, everyone? Christmas! Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to spend your money, fa la 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 la. And considering how crap 2020 was, I think Christmas is something we are all desperately going to need. This is Corey from the future, just giving you an update that even though I shot this video weeks in advance so I could have this video uploaded by Christmas, while editing this video, my laptop decided to break, and I was unable to replace it until after Christmas, which meant that I was unable to edit and upload this video until January 2021. Thanks 2020, you're officially the worst. I mean, we have the drought. My country was literally on fire this year. We have the coronavirus, and worst of all, I only uploaded 2 videos this year. As a result, I'm going to be spending Christmas this year partaking in our personal favourite Christmas traditional pastime activity. Spending my life savings on Christmas presents. Excuse me, I'd like to buy a PS5 please. Consider it done, sir. All that's going to cost you is $1,000, all of your personal card details, your entire wallet, your iPhone, and your personal browser history. It's a deal! And of course, watching all of my personal favourite Christmas movies. Like Die Hard.
Bruce Willis, Die Hard.
I just started a war in the comments on whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie, didn't I? But today, we're gonna talk about another personal fan favourite. Home Alone. Home Alone was released in 1990. It was directed by Chris Columbus, was written by John Hughes, and stars Macaulay Culkin. For the 3 of you who have not already seen this movie, Home Alone follows an extended family called the McAllisters. A mansion that during the Christmas holidays is home to 15 people. And if you're wondering how the adults are keeping a mansion of 15 people under control, the answer is they don't. The film specifically follows 8-year-old Kevin McAllister, played by Macaulay Culkin, who thinks that he hates his entire family, and understandably so. So much so that he wishes that his whole family would just disappear, only to wake up the next morning and find out that, hey, whoop-de-doo, his wish came true. Mostly because the entire family was late to catch a plane to Paris, which is where they were going to spend their Christmas holidays. And in the frenzy, Kevin McAllister is accidentally left behind. Don't you just hate it when you casually go on a massive holiday overseas and you just happen to forget your child? Yeah, I hate it when I do that. It's so annoying.
I made my family disappear.
I just think that I accidentally killed my entire family, and I am absolutely thrilled about it without even showing a single hint of remorse. I am definitely not going to become a psychopathic serial killer when I'm older. So yeah, Kevin is left home alone, and initially he is thrilled by the idea. Until he comes to the discovery that 2 burglars are threatening to break into his house. And so Kevin McAllister has to go John Kramer mode to stop them.
Oh yes, there will be blood.
This movie is considered to be an absolute classic. A well-beloved movie that is cherished by film enthusiasts and casual audiences alike. But what a lot of you may not know is that Home Alone was an absolute disaster during pre-production. The movie was initially going to be licensed and made by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers didn't really have much faith in the movie, and so they only gave them a budget of $10 million. Despite mostly hiring a crew that was mostly only known for making Heartbreak Hotel, which has a reputation of being an awful movie, they realized that they truly did have something special, and they did not want to cut corners, and realized that they may have something truly amazing if they were just able to push the budget from $10 million to $14.7 million. Warner Brothers' response? Fired! Warner Brothers ended up shutting the movie down. And my god, I bet they came to regret that. While all this was going on, Chris Columbus was talking to 20th Century Fox about the issues they're having with Warner Brothers. They showed 20th Century Fox a script, to which they responded, "What are you talking about? This script is amazing! I'd make the movie for that budget. Tell you what, if Warner Brothers drops the deal, wherein the rights went over to Fox and they were able to keep going. And after all of that, the movie was slammed by critics.
The slapstick with the burglars in the picture, that's predictable. I could accept the premise of the whole film, I'll grant him that. I just don't think a bright enough script was written with the kid being maybe more frightened than he would be and maybe even more clever. Writer-producer John Heughs and his director Chris Columbus have made a sort of a preteen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and the formula is wearing thin on me.
And the whole business of the burglars trying to break in, and he contrives a very elaborate string of booby traps and trick ropes going here and there and little fireworks that are going to go off and so forth to make life hard for them. These booby traps are nothing that any 8-year-old kid couldn't make if he had hundreds of thousands of dollars and the special effects department of a movie working for him. It's totally unrealistic.
But despite all that, it rose against the odds and is still considered the most iconic Christmas movie of all time. Maybe except for Die Hard. This movie holds up remarkably well. It is so timeless. It's one of those movies that has just never aged, or at least it's aged in a very, very positive way. I really don't think this movie's going to become dated. It especially holds up in the story. Yes, it has tons of really great, classic, iconic, funny moments, and yeah, this movie is still hilarious to this day. However, it's not just a good, funny, turn-your-brain-off movie. One thing that's really helped this movie with age is the fact that Home Alone still has substance. This isn't just a funny movie about a child that's left home alone and then proceeding to do exactly what you would expect a child to do when he has an entire mansion to himself. Under the surface, it's a movie about redemption and forgiveness. It's about the importance of accepting what you have and not taking life for granted, especially as something as important as your family. Now, yes, this is a relatively common theme. Themes like this pop up all the time in fiction. However, it's really the execution on why it works and why it doesn't come off as preachy or cliche. This is probably my second favourite Be Careful What You Wish For movie, right behind Coraline. Both of these movies have a very, very unique premise that I haven't really seen before. And on the occasions I have, it's really because they were trying to copy this movie in the first place. And it is through these very unique premises that the themes of the story are able to shine through without coming off as cliche. It's this life lesson about not taking your family for granted and learning to appreciate and value them that really gives this movie a sense of heart. And I think that is one of the core critical elements of the movie that pushes it to being more than just an above-average Christmas movie. That, and the movie's just hilarious. There are so many priceless moments throughout this entire movie, like Angels with Filthy Souls, a moment that I thought was so funny and so entertaining that even I did a reenactment of it on my channel way back during a Blu-ray unboxing that has not aged well.
Who is it?
It's Lil Nero, sir. Have your Blu-rays?
Leave it on the doorstep and get the hell out of here.
Okay. But what about the money?
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Cheapskate.
Hey, I tell you what I'm gonna give you, Snake. I'm gonna give you to the count of 10. To get your ugly, yellow, no good keister off my property, before I pump your guts full of lead. 1, 2, 10.
There are the scenes where Kevin has to go shopping.
Are you here all by yourself? I can tell you that. Where's your mom? I can tell you that.
What about your brothers and your sisters?
I can tell you that.
Where do you live?
I don't think so.
Kevin's many priceless screams. The pranks he pulls to hide the fact that he's home alone. The booby traps. And, of course, my favourite line in the entire movie.
When I grow up and get married, I'm living alone.
And this movie also raises some very, very interesting questions. Now, some of these have already been addressed. For example, the unusual suspect tried to decipher the question that Buzz raises on whether or not the French shave their armpits.
Is it true that French babes don't shave their pits?
Yet he was so busy trying to work out the answer to this question that I discovered a question raised in the movie that's even better.
Mom, does Santa Claus have to go through customs?
I never actually considered that. Does Santa have to go through customs? Really makes you think, doesn't it? I'm curious to hear your opinions on the idea down below. So that's my question to you guys for today. Does Santa Claus have to go through customs? Leave your answers in the comments think the other core reason to why this movie works as well as it does are the characters. Macaulay Culkin as Kevin is a gem in this movie. He is probably my favourite child performance in any movie, ever. I've seen other people try to imitate what he did in A Home Alone, like Zachary Gordon in the Diary of a Wimpy Kid trilogy, and no one is anywhere near as successful as what Macaulay Culkin was able to do in this movie. Not even actors in the movie's own sequels were able to get it right. That is if there was some alternate reality where Home Alone sequels existed, but everybody knows there was only 2 movies. Yeah, they only made 2. And it's not just Macaulay. Every single child actor is great in this movie. And I think that performances have a lot to do with Chris Columbus behind the camera. He is excellent working with children, and it's especially prominent when you come to realise that he is just as good with the child actors in the first few Harry Potter movies. Kevin is just all around an excellent lead, and I spent a long time trying to decipher exactly why, especially when you start to consider that Kevin is kind of an asshole. I tried to spend some time working out why this character works so well despite being so incredibly misbehaved. And the conclusion I came to is that it's almost kind of justified when you stop to realise the amount of shit his family put him through. First off, he's a child. There's no way he's going to be able to communicate or convey emotion in a sane, mature, respectful manner that adults can. He's still a child, he's still learning, he's still developing and growing those skills. So when he's trying to express his emotion, he's obviously going to make mistakes. So that's the first point. I mean, let's go through the first few minutes of the movie and decipher every single time his family is disrespecting him. The movie starts off with him complaining to his mother that he feels left out because his cousins are watching a movie without him. And when he tries to convey to his mother that he's feeling a bit hurt about this, not too rudely by the way, she just tells him to buzz off. I mean, granted, yes, she is on the phone, and I can get that she would be a little bit annoyed in that situation, but at the same time, telling him to shoo kind of explains to me why he's being so rude all of a sudden. I mean, Kevin is already feeling hurt because he's feeling left out, and his mother is doing him no favours to help. Then he has a conversation with his dad, and in terms of being respectful towards Kevin, I think the dad is the best character in the movie. Because all the father is really asking in this scene is just asking him to pick up his toy cars because his aunt almost slipped on one and broke her neck. Foreshadowing! He's then asked to go pack his suitcase, which is again pretty rational. Except for the fact that he's feeling overwhelmed because he's never packed a suitcase on his own before. So he feels completely lost, he doesn't really know what he's doing. And so when he goes to his family for help, all they do in response is insult him and call him an idiot. And immediately after, he is then told by one of the same family members that he has to share a bed with his incontinent cousin. And being forced to share a bed with somebody that has a 100% chance in wetting the bed is going to be a miserable experience no matter who you are. So he understandably goes to his brother and asks him if he can sleep in his room, which leads to him being insulted. Again.
I wouldn't let you sleep in my room if you were growing on my ass.
And then his brother takes it one step further to tell him a horror story about the rumour of his older neighbour being a serial killer with no intention other than just to scare the shit out of him. And then, just to add salt to the wound, the pizza arrives. And Buzz decides to go out of his way to stuff Kevin's entire pizza into his mouth, only to throw it up right in front of him because he eats like a pig. At this point, Kevin has just had enough and understandably snaps. And after all of that, Kevin is the one who gets in trouble, has this said by his mother.
Maybe you should ask Santa for a new family.
And then he's sent to be by himself upstairs for the rest of the night and has to go to bed with no food. God, Kevin's parents are kind of neglectful in this context. No, not kind of. They are neglectful. They go on a massive overseas trip and leave him behind. That is definitely neglect. And I think that was done intentionally so you can relate to him, you can feel sorry for him, and so you are on his side when he goes on his path to redeem himself. What also kind of bewilders me is that despite the fact that Kevin's family are truly awful people, they are still kind of really likeable in some ways. Kate, Kevin's mother, is a very, very likable character, especially when she starts her character arc on how she might need to pick up a crash course on how not to be a terrible mother. Buzz is lovable for being an idiot, considering he can't count to 3.
A, I'm not that lucky. 2, we have smoke detectors. And D, we live in the most boring street in the United States of America.
And Uncle Frank is an asshole, but he's portrayed in a way that prevents him from coming off as mean-spirited. And it's definitely comical when you start to realize that he's straight up a thief.
That's real crystal. It's real.
So?
Put them in your purse.
Or when Kate is questioning her life choices, including being a mother in the first place, Uncle Frank then thinks it is comparable to forgetting a child going on a holiday to forgetting his reading glasses. They all have very great distinct personalities, and even though they're a little bit one-dimensional, I think it's okay, especially considering none of them are really in the movie for that long. Moving aside from characters, I just want to talk about some of the movie's most iconic moments. Like this one.
Hey! I'm not afraid anymore! I said I'm not afraid anymore! Do you hear me? I'm not afraid anymore! Hello.
Okay guys, just making sure you're aware that this panel has just spontaneously decided to keep falling off the wall. It will not stay there. And so I'm just gonna have to put it down, and I'm just letting you guys know so you understand why there's gonna be no panel for the rest of this video. My background is no longer gonna be isometric, and that saddens me. But this is gonna be my first and probably last review of 2020, and so the review must go on. I digress, the video has many other equally iconic moments. Like the wall, this blank space, that's gonna drive me nuts for the rest of this video, isn't it? I knew it. But no, one of the other scenes I'm regarding is the scene where Kevin McAllister completely demolishes Buzz's room by climbing on the bookshelf. I mean, he trashes it. He completely demolishes his brother's bedroom, all for the sake of stealing his money just to buy a toothbrush, which he ironically doesn't end up paying for.
He's an asshole.
I also really appreciate subtle details. One of my personal favourite examples is when Kevin is almost hit by a van that ironically has Dodge written on front. Or even the scene where he's using the mannequins as puppets, which would foreshadow the ingenuity that Kevin would have later on when setting up the traps. There's also this scene here when he's yelling over the balcony, and if you turn the sound up, you can actually hear the rest of the family yelling over the top of Kevin, talking about their own things. Even though the focus of this scene is on Kevin, it does not at any point ignore the chaos that is going on around the rest of the house. That's really quite remarkable, and it's a subtle detail that even other filmmakers probably would have ignored. So yeah, this is a pretty great movie. However, I'm pretty sure we can all agree that the icing on the cake is, in fact, the booby traps. The booby traps are utter perfection in this movie. First off, Harry and Marv are excellent. Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern definitely give the best performances in the entire movie. And this applies to both Home Alone 1 and 2. They're given just the right balance of being likable but also intimidating. They're idiots to the point where you kind of buy the fact that they're getting their asses kicked by an 8-year-old, but also competent enough where they still pose as a genuine threat and they are scary when they need to be. They're scary, but also funny and lovable at the same time. And I really appreciate funny details on how they heavily imply that Marv had in fact seen Angels with Filthy Souls, because he kind of recognized the dialogue from the movie that Kevin was playing. But I digress. The booby traps. Let's talk about them. This movie definitely would not have been the same without them. I mean, the booby traps in this movie are bloody lethal. And yet, all of it, and I mean all of it, holds up remarkably well. To the point where I almost think it would have looked worse if the movie was made today, just because everything would have been done with CGI. They look real, and more importantly, they feel real. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they are real. These are actual stunt doubles getting hit in the face with an iron. But I think the other reason on why the booby traps are so effective in this movie is not just the fact that they're all done with practical effects, but there's one subtle detail that truly makes this scene work. The sound design. Oh my god, the sound design is god tier. The sound effects that were used are absolutely perfect, and it's because of the sound effects that you feel each and every hit. The smacking of the paint can when Harry and Marv are hit in the face, the crunching impact every time they fall and hit the floor, the sizzling of Harry's hand when he touches the burning doorknob, the shattering and crackling glass when Marv steps barefoot on the light globes. Having that said, the movie finds a really fine line. It's lethal enough so you can feel their pain and get a laugh out of it, but it's also tame enough so it doesn't come off as mean-spirited. Now there is one ultimate question that is lingering in my head. Do I have any faults with Home Alone? I kind of do, but they're very minor, to the point where it's really just nitpicking. First off, the movie is extremely implausible. People criticize it for being unrealistic, but you kind of have to suspend your disbelief with it. And I easily can. I can suspend my disbelief in this movie in the same way I can suspend my disbelief about the fact that a DeLorean can travel through time in the 80s. Also, some of the side characters are a little bit one note, but the movie's not about them, so I really don't care. I give it a watch every single year, and I cannot wait to watch it again, and it's definitely a real treat, and I strongly recommend this movie to anyone who hasn't seen it. And that wraps up my review for Home Alone. Now before I let you guys go, I do have a few quick announcements that I want to make. For the last couple of years, my upload schedule has been absolutely pathetic, and I've only been uploading like once or twice a year, and I definitely want to change that. There's also other things that I regret doing, like making promises that I don't fulfill, and starting franchises and projects that I never ended up finishing. So my resolution for 2021 is to finally fix my damn upload schedule. Now I can't guarantee you a consistent schedule just yet, because I'm still going to be in the trial and error phase. I absolutely love making my videos, however I spend a lot of time making them. Especially since I want to push my video in a more comedy-oriented channel. I really love trying to make my audience laugh, and that is just as important to me as giving you my opinion on a movie. However, if I'm going to be more comedy-oriented, I'm going to need to spend more time with my videos. Which means there's just no way I can do weekly uploads. It's not going to happen. So my goal for 2021 is to try and upload anywhere between once a month to once a week, and hopefully pushing more towards the latter. I can review a bunch of new releases that I completely missed, I can possibly open myself to do more requests, I can finish my marathons that I started and never finished, and there's a few new ones that I really want to get done. I can start opening up new series and new types of videos that I want to make, and overall I just want to completely renovate my channel. And I want you guys to be a part of it because I really want to make content that you guys want to see. And one way you can do that is by following me on Twitter. Because I made a Twitter account a few years ago and nobody knows that it exists. So here I am promoting it now. If you follow me on Twitter, I'll be able to give you frequent updates on how I'm doing, what I'm doing when I'm not working on videos. I can give you brief opinions on movies if I don't have time to make a dedicated video to it. And the two most important, I can give you frequent updates on how my videos are going and how far I am through the process of making it, and I can also run polls so I can ask for your opinions, or you can have a say in what videos I make next, or just anything I feel like making a poll about. And it's going to be way more efficient if more than one person votes. You can find my Twitter account at ReviewsCorys, and I will leave a link in the description down below. And on the subject of plugging my content, I just want to point out that 92.7% of you guys watching are watching my videos without actually hitting the subscribe button. Which means, statistically speaking, you are not subscribed to my channel. So if you enjoy my content, why not do me a favor by hitting that subscribe button for me? I press it myself, but YouTube doesn't let me, so you're gonna have to do it for me. And for those who have subscribed to me, thank you very much. I appreciate it monumentally. I am determined to improve my videos. I have a lot I want to deliver for you for 2021, and hopefully I'm going to keep that promise and I'm going to make it happen. Having that said, I hope you have a fantastic Christmas and a great new year.